Welcome back to the Laundry List, and I am Todd. We have Soraya and Charles here. Blake is not going to be with us today, and we're excited to have an awesome episode. We have lots to talk about. Lots of stuff have come up in the last half hour, so I think we're not going to be short of topics and conversation today. Before Charles gets into the laundry list, which is the name of our podcast, the 14 traits that identify an adult child, let's just see how the week's going for everybody. Soraya, how's the week going for you?
You know, the week's actually going pretty great.
Pretty great. Really great. I think I saw a putty cat.
No, the week's going pretty well. So I have been in a better mental headspace lately, and it feels really good to get back up. You know, my apartment's clean. I finished a couple projects that I had been putting off. I finished my disco ball chandelier. I hung up my gallery wall. My place is spotless. My cats are happy. Everything is great. So I'm having a great week.
You know, there's something to be said about that. I remember when I got sober and I was really depressed, really sad. And my sponsor goes, I want you to make your bed every day. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I got a maid that comes and makes my bed. He's like, I want you to make your bed every day. I'm like, all right, fine. And after like 2 or 3 weeks, I'm like, I actually feel better about myself making my bed every day. It's amazing how a clean house, making the bed, clean apartment, you know, plants, art projects, all that stuff I think just builds self-confidence and self-esteem.
Absolutely. And I do feel a lot better. I wake up in the morning and there's not clothes on my floor. Like my floor is mopped, but I did mop my floor and then flooded it. And then also my cats threw up on it. So maybe I'm not destined for clean floors, but you know, like I made the effort and it feels good.
Progress, not perfection. You can't control those cats either. Those cats have a mind of their own. They're crazy.
Yeah.
Charles, how's your week going? I know you're building the #1 pickleball brand in the world called Proton, which I was playing pickleball in Laguna Beach this weekend, and everybody was asking me about my Proton paddle and couldn't figure out how I had my name on it. And I did one of those. Someone lobbed a shot over me. I ran back, hit it between my legs for a winner. And everyone's like, what? And I'm like, Proton.
Yeah, all the paddle. It was all the paddle.
So how's it going in the world of Charles and Proton?
Well, I mean, Proton is doing amazing things right now. I'm humbled and grateful and honestly blown away. But more importantly than that, I got my first haircut in 5 years that I didn't do myself. I've been cutting my hair myself for 5 years. But over the past, I don't know, probably 9 months, I haven't even cut it myself at all.
Wow.
Haven't cared what I look like. So one of the benefits about being single is I don't care.
Do you have a mirror in your
I do.
Okay.
And I went to go finally, I'm like, I'm going to cut my own hair again. And it was even more than I knew what to do with. So I went in and they butchered me. They cut it all off.
Well, it looks great.
And then I was pissed. Well, thank you, Todd.
The glasses, the beard, it looks good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Somehow it thins you out. I don't know.
No, that's the high blood pressure, the weight loss, and 3 months no testosterone and a stroke. And
Well, I tell you, no testosterone will build back the hair. Testosterone is not good for the hair.
That's true. I'm feeling like the receding hairline's going away.
Well, I had a great weekend. Thanks for asking. And I was in Laguna Beach all weekend. I took my son and we had a blast. We did cryotherapy. We played pickleball. We went to the beach, took the dog, Gigi, for a ton of walks, and hung out with one of his best friends, James, who was on the podcast a few weeks ago, and really enjoyed hanging out with James. My partner, Chad, lives out there, so we watched the Suns game with him. And I got to tell you, that's my little oasis out there. And a lot of meditation, great deep sleep at that ocean air. We should do a podcast from out there in June. You know, get everyone out there and do a live from Laguna Beach podcast and call it in from Laguna. I think we should do that. It's just something magical about that there. So anyway, so Charles, why don't you read the 14 characteristics of the laundry list, and then we'll get right into it.
All right. These are 14 ridiculous traits that we unknowingly utilize as defense mechanisms in situations that from situations that occurred in our childhood and developed in adulthood. And the first one is that we became isolated and afraid of people and authority figures. Number 2, we became approval seekers and lost our identity in the process. Number 3, we are frightened by angry people and any personal criticism. Number 4, we either became alcoholics, marry them, or both, or find another compulsive personality such as a workaholic to fulfill our sick abandonment needs. Number 5, we live life from the viewpoint of victims and are strangely attracted by that weakness in our love and friendship relationships. Number 6, we have an overdeveloped sense of responsibility and it is easier for us to be concerned with others rather than ourselves. And this enables us not to look too closely at our own faults. Number 7, we get guilt feelings when we stand up for ourselves instead of giving in to others. Number 8, we became addicted to excitement. Number 9, we confuse love and pity and tend to love people we can pity and ultimately rescue. Number 10, we have stuffed the feelings from our traumatic childhoods and have lost the ability to feel or express our feelings because it hurts so much. And that's also known as denial. Number 11, we judge ourselves harshly and have a very low sense of self-esteem. Soraya gave me some weird tea. This tea she gave, first of all, it tastes like a broken wood tree.
Does it?
Yeah, it tastes like a tree. I prefer not.
Yeah, actually, I like it, but it's like a titty twister for the tongue. It's like, I like it.
I don't know that I do.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm literally drinking a tree right now.
You
like
are
a, like,
drinking
like
a
a
tree.
fern tree. I don't know what that tastes like.
Because I like the woman who made it for us. She put lots of love into it.
All right. So somewhere, I think we just passed over number 11, which is we get distracted easily. All right. Moving on. Oh, my goodness. Number 12, we're dependent personalities. And we're terrified of abandonment and will do anything to hold on to a relationship in order not to experience those painful abandonment feelings. And we often receive those from living with sick people who were never there emotionally for us. Number 13, alcoholism is a family disease, and we became para-alcoholics and took on the characteristics of that disease, even though we never picked up a drink. And finally, 14, para-alcoholics, also known as codependents, or reactors rather than actors. Thank you, Tony A., 1978.
1978. All right, so I just had coffee with a friend of ours who's been on this journey, the laundry list journey, for a while. He listens to our podcast. He's reading the Red Book. And we were just going over how did he get into the spot of becoming the laundry list? And he's sober 40 years. And we were talking about, like, how did we become the laundry list, you know, when we had such a successful career? You know, we're married, we're a father, we're like a pillar in society. Like, how the hell did we get here? And we started talking about that it worked for so long. Like, it worked as a child. It works in business. I'm like, most of those laundry list traits can get you rich. You know, kissing ass, you know, making people feeling good about themselves, like being concerned with others, not yourself. Like, you know, this stuff in business, you can get really successful and really rich quickly. Of course, you're going to lose yourself and not have an identity, but you're going to have a lot of money. And as a child, it was the only chance we had to, like, survive, because we couldn't speak our truth because we're 6 or 7 and we can't leave. We can't speak up for ourselves. So I think as a child, and also a lot of times in business, it's like it works until you find out what the laundry list is and you realize it's an empty, shallow life that you don't want to live. And we were talking about how, you know, this guy, I don't know how old he is, but he's past his retirement age for sure. And he's like just discovering who he is for the first time in his life by doing this work and reading the Red Book. Because his whole life, like I was, I'm a rescuer. I'm a fixer. It's my job and it's my responsibility to make sure everyone else is okay. Mm-hmm. And whether it's employees, kids, relationships, you know, people at work, doesn't matter. I got to make sure everything's going okay. And it's nice to, like, step back and go, okay, who do I really want to be? What do I stand for? What are my ethics? What are my, what are my things that I enjoy in life? What are my hobbies? Because before it was all what everyone else wanted to do, right? It's what my ex-wife wanted to do. It's what my kids want to do. It's what my coworkers want to do. It's what my friends when I was a kid wanted to do. But now it's like, what do I want to do? I remember my therapist asking me a couple of years ago, well, what interests you? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. And now I know. I have things that I like to do. I love playing pickleball. And it's not because I'm getting approval and validation out there. It's because I really enjoy it, you know? And so what are the things that you guys, when you read the laundry list, you're like, yeah, I can identify. But what are some of the things you do to get out of the laundry list to find your true self?
Well, Todd, you hit on something that was pretty interesting, right? There's a lot of things that living in those laundry list traits got me into quickly. Success, right? You're like, hey, I know people make money quickly with these types of traits. Get me into marriages quickly. I married twice fast. Got me into cars I couldn't afford to buy fast because I didn't feel good on the inside, so the Porsche is going to make me feel good. The Porsche is going to get other people to tell me you're cool, right? So there's a lot of things that marriage, like, so for me, marriage wasn't two people getting together that loved each other, that wanted to spend eternity. Marriages was, okay, you're moving in and you're staying, right? And so I can see that, right? There was a shallowness and an emptiness within inside of me. So I looked exterior to do that. And you're right, people pleasing for a period of time will get you somewhere. Right? And it may get you married for a period of time. It may get you success for a period of time. But ultimately, when those things are rooted in these laundry lists, they are so temporary. I can look back at all of the different things that at the time, that's what I needed or what I wanted because there was a hole inside of me. Whatever that was, it was ultimately temporary. And now you're talking about things that are relative to me. You're asking me, what is it that I like to do? What are situations I like to be in? What are things that I want to do? And those are things that are rooted in truth. And those things have already proven to be far more long-lasting and permanent. I mean, so that still remains to be seen. But I can't believe that I am now over 2 years living alone and enjoying it. Right? I can't believe I can go 9 months without cutting my hair and not caring. Right? So that was something that I always was so focused on exterior appearance, and now I'm just wearing hats and wearing my company brand.
Yeah, I remember.
What was my nickname?
Yeah. Flash. Yeah.
Flash.
How to look good. People had to compliment you on your clothes, your look, your teeth, whatever it was. You needed compliments.
That's right. Yeah, my nickname was Flash, and I'm as far as flash as you can get. The shorts I'm wearing used to be sweatpants that I cut. You know, I drive around in a pickup truck now.
So let me ask you a question. So what happens to you? What happens to who you are when you get a lot of validation and approval? Oh, Charles, you're so good looking. You're so smart. You're so witty. You're so fun. You're so successful. Like, you get all that validation, all approval. And then what does it do? Does it make you feel better about yourself? Do you feel like higher self-esteem? Or is it like this, for me, like this short-lived bump, almost like cocaine? And then you're like, okay, the next day I'm not getting it. I feel like shit. Yeah,
because it is temporary. It is a little bump. And maybe I can even fall asleep holding on to it. Or maybe I can hold on to it for a week. Hey, so-and-so told me I was cute. Right? Maybe I can hold on to it a little bit. But in the reality situation, the guy that's going to bed at night, wake up in the morning, isn't feeling that. Right? So I've got that dependence and reliance upon it. So I'm actually looking for others for fuel.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, what do I have to do now to get the fuel that I need and acquire that from other people? And that's the definition of people.
Do you catch yourself now? Because like, I know recently I've been catching myself asking like my wife, my ex-wife, my son, like asking people like, do you think I'm a good blank? Do you think I'm smart? You know, I'm like, I can notice when I get insecure and I'm fishing for compliments and fishing for validation. And now I catch myself, stop myself, and go into a meditation. Do you ever catch yourself like, I'm looking for a compliment, you know, and I'm looking for someone to tell me how great I am?
I think needing validation is a human element, right? So everyone wants to be validated in their work, with their spouse, with their friends, right? So I think that's just human nature to want some validation, but to be constantly seeking it. So I imagine maybe you're not feeling great, right? That's why partnerships work well in relationships and in business, right? When one's down, I mean, we do that in our programs. Mm-hmm. Maybe one day you're down and I'm up and I'm picking you up, and maybe it's different the other day.
Right.
So I think seeking that validation is okay, in my opinion, because caught myself doing it, but is it something that you're doing every day? And I like the idea of meditating because it's all about getting grounded back in myself with God, right?
Yeah.
And that's
getting that feeling from the Creator who's pumping that energy and love back into me, so I don't need it from somebody else.
Correct.
Because if I don't get that from my Creator, I notice that I will seek it somewhere else. And it could come out in a lot of different ways. It could come out looking like I needed a compliment or approval, or it could come out and being passive aggressive, being silent and isolating. It could come out in just like avoiding situations and conflict. So it could come out in a lot of different ways. But at the end of the day, I need to be giving myself that approval, validation, and enjoyment. And when I think, okay, what am I doing today that I get enjoyment out of? It's meditation, it's pickleball, it's listening to music, it's listening to spiritual content on YouTube, it's going to work, it's hanging out with friends and family. Like, those are the things that give me enjoyment. And the more I give myself personal enjoyment, the less I'm seeking validation, approval outside of myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
the contact, which I know, which is probably, you left it out, but I know it's one of the biggest parts of the Todd Belfer fiber of his being, is the contact with the other guys. The service that work that you're doing with other guys, I know that impacts me as well. I talk to a lot of people, and normally those conversations were always rooted in, something that was surface level. But a real deep conversation when I'm asking someone, how was your day? Not just say, oh yeah, it was good. No, like, tell me about, the thought process going on. And Todd, I know that you do more so than I could right now, and more so than most men that I know, as far as having real conversations with the guys in your circle that you care about.
Yeah, a lot of times when I'm in the car, I think, who can I call today that I haven't talked to, that I know has been going through a hard time recently? And I did that yesterday with this guy in Atlanta. He lost his son in November. And I called him and we chatted for a half hour. It was wonderful. Today I called a sponsee who's going through, having a really rough day. And back when I don't know, 20 years ago, it's like the last thing I want to do is call these kind of people. Like, what are they going to do for me?
Yeah.
How am I going to make more money off these guys? What are they going to do for me? And it's like, now it's like, I know what I'm getting. Like, and it has nothing to do with more dollars in my pocket. It's serenity. It's peace. It's being, balanced. It's like positive, loving energy inside of myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's feeling good about myself, Soraya, what do you want to add to this conversation, and how you become your true self and feel good about yourself without getting validation and approval from other people?
Can you repeat that? I have ADHD.
It's the fucking tea, Soraya. I'm telling you.
I know. My brain
poison
is
tea.
I know. I don't know what's up with this tea. We're stumbling over words. Can't keep a train of
Adderall
thought.
is legal, and you can get a prescription. No, but so how do you get out of yourself and build self-esteem without getting validation and approval from other people? And like you mentioned, your art projects, you work out. Like, so what are the things you do to stop seeking validation and approval from other people?
I stopped trying to sell my paintings. I know that sounds strange, but I started painting for myself. Was the reason that I started, was because I didn't want to pay, $30 for a cheap print to hang up in my apartment. And that's why I started painting. And also because I needed an expensive hobby, so I wouldn't give it up. But I started painting for myself, and as I kept painting, I decided that I wanted to sell my work. And I felt like that was just me seeking approval from other people. I want people to admire my work, love my work. And
did it cause anxiety and stress in you?
Yeah, because I didn't sell shit.
I thought you sold one at the coffee shop.
I sold two. So when I started selling my work, I was doing it online, but the online market is just so oversaturated in art. It's very hard to do. So unless you have work actually hanging in a place, you're not going to sell anything really. And so I did sell two paintings, but I got to a point where I stopped painting for other people. My social media has been inactive this whole time. I've just been painting for my apartment and for my eyes only, and not seeking that need for approval for other people, like I'm doing a good job at this art because I'm not doing it for anyone else. I'm doing it for me. And I think I needed that reminder that the reason that I started doing this was for me and for my own sanity and for my own well-being, and also so I wouldn't have to spend $30 on cheap prints.
I remember when you sold that painting, that first one, you were so excited.
Oh my God, over the moon. To a stranger.
But with that excitement also comes, I haven't sold a painting in 3 weeks. I'm a loser.
Yeah. I mean, it's all temporary.
Yeah.
And there was another point that I was thinking about while you guys were talking. And I think that in today's society, we are expected to.
That wasn't mine.
I don't know
like
what
that ring.
I think we were expected to contribute. And over time, it's just been ingrained in us that we need to contribute on a higher level than normal. We need to contribute to society or we're useless. If we don't provide anything to society, we aren't people. We aren't valued. And I don't think that that's the way it should be. Obviously, like, I don't know where I was going with that, but that was my train of thought there.
Yeah, well, it does feel good to contribute to society and to, like, be a part of and give. But I think to get it to build self-esteem and build your own value, that's got to come within. That's got to come within. Like, after an hour of meditation, I feel the best I've felt in forever, like in my whole entire life, where I could be on stage receiving an award for, like, most successful entrepreneur in Arizona, and I feel great, but the next day I feel terrible because I need more of it. Mm-hmm. It's a drug. I need more. For that moment on the podium, I'm like, yes, I'm kicking ass. I'm awesome. But then if I don't get any validation the next day or the next day, I'm like, oh, they don't love me anymore. They don't care. Even though I got an award,
Mm-hmm.
It's a constant. So I know for me, I got to constantly remind myself. And when I get into that situation where I need validation and approval, and I know where to get it. I mean, my wife will give it out very freely at all times, but I'm like, nope, not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go within. I'm going to journal. I'm going to pray. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to go within and get it myself, because I know I can get it from Alex. I know I can get it, from family. But I just think it's a lot more meaningful and long lasting getting it for myself, for sure. And the other thing that we were talking about an hour ago when I was with my friend next door at getting coffee was, what does it all mean? Like, we were talking about estate planning and when we die, and and my friend Morris and I did this exercise where we wrote our eulogy. I don't know, this is maybe 10 years ago. We wrote our eulogy. Like, who do we want to be? When people talk about Todd, what are they going to say? Oh, he won that award on the podium, most successful entrepreneur. That might be in there, but what I really want is, no, he was a loving, compassionate guy.
Yeah.
He cared. He listened. I felt safe and vulnerable. I felt safe and I could be vulnerable around Todd. That's what I want. Like, I was with my son this weekend in Laguna Beach, and, we both were vulnerable, talking about feelings and talking about fears. And, and I want people to say, like, they felt safe around Todd. I don't want them to say, oh no, Todd was a bully. Todd, he would scream at me. No, I don't want to scare people. I don't want to make people afraid of me. I don't want to force people into giving me approval or validation. I want people to feel safe and loved and, like, warmth around me, So it was an interesting exercise of writing your eulogy, at a young age, because then it's like reverse engineering that. Okay, so I'm writing my eulogy now, so let's live it out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's live it out. And because I think a lot of times we don't realize who we are and what we're doing, because life comes so fast. Get up, go to work out, come home, eat dinner, go to bed, do it all over again. It's like life comes so fast, you, like, forget, okay, what's it all about? Who do I want to be today? What I want to do along the journey? And a lot of times, like, slowing it way down and looking at it, journaling, like you mentioned, and talking to yourself and taking walks by myself. You know, I just think all these things are reflections of, like, you know, writing the eulogy. But the other one that came up was being concerned with others rather than myself. And, you know, I definitely have had that trait. I still struggle with that trait with close friends and family members. I find myself trying to run the show. And now I am stepping back and just trying to send love. And, like, I don't want to be involved in making decisions for anybody else but myself. I want to just, unless they ask me for my advice, like, Todd, what would you do in this situation? That's different. But if I'm giving unsolicited advice and trying to tell people how to live their life, I'm not in their body. I'm not in their shoes. I'm not part of their soul. It's like, I don't know. You know, I can give advice 5 minutes. I can give advice to someone that's been in a marriage for 20 years. You know, they've been in a marriage 20 years and I'm like, get the fuck out. You know, get out. Like, how fair is that to the other person or myself to, like, do something like that? It's like, no, you know, I was giving this guy James advice the other day on his relationship. And all I can say is pray for her, send her warm, loving, healing energy, wish her the best in your mind, like, literally send that energy to her. And the right answer will come eventually. The right answer will come. Like, making a decision in the heat of the moment and emotion is never the right decision. Ever. Whether it's business, relationships, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, making decisions when you are in a hot emotional state, it just doesn't work out, you know?
98% of the people in prison was a heat of the moment decision, guaranteed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a decision right that second, and they're like, oh shit, that was a bad decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times, like, they don't even remember it.
Yeah.
I mean, my old roommate, one of my best friends, shot and killed his wife. And
Yes.
he says he doesn't remember it. He was in such state of abandonment and such state of fear that he literally blocked it out. And I believe him. He doesn't remember it, you know?
In order to not experience that painful abandonment feeling.
Yep. He didn't want to feel that abandonment, so he made a decision to eliminate the feeling that was causing the abandonment, the other person. And now he's spending the rest of his life in jail. But yeah, it's like, how do we get out of that abandonment? And I remember my son this weekend was like, yeah, I'm enjoying not being in a relationship because, like, I'm not looking for that drama, you know? And I'm like, well, there doesn't have to be drama in every relationship. You know, if you do your interviewing correctly and you go slow and you're healthy, you could get into a relationship without drama. This relationship I'm in now, and I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you for waiting for the cue.
Yeah, thank you. I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary. There's no drama. There really isn't. We tell each other what's in our heart. We tell each other, you know, the truth. But every relationship before this, it has been the laundry list. You know, trying to diffuse the anger, trying to diffuse conflict, trying to, you know, make sure the other person's happy, make sure I look good by rescuing, whatever it is. And today I don't have those. And you know, my son and I were talking about that, and it's like, not every relationship has to be drama. I mean, I think everyone at this table has been in relationships where it's been pretty dramatic and very emotional, right?
And doesn't it take both people to make it dramatic? It's not just one. It requires both.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if we can't say, oh, she's so dramatic. Well, I am a part of that, right? It requires both sides to have a dramatic relationship. Let's use the example of you and Julie. I think when one person grows up or grows out of this, if it truly is a laundry list impacted relationship, the other one kind of follows suit.
Right.
Right. If one experiences growth, it's almost like out of osmosis, the other one grows with it. Now
Or it ends. One of the two.
Oh yeah, they go their separate way forever, which is that's still healthy because
Right.
there's a boundary there. But, like, look at the relationship you have with Julie today.
Right.
From you growing out of this.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you don't fall into it. Like, I was sharing with some people the other day that if Julie was mad at me and hung up on me, or she was really not pleased with my behavior, I would be a mess. I would have that feeling of abandonment. I needed to fix it ASAP. Julie could get mad at me today, and literally it has no effect on me.
Yeah.
My wife, Alex, could get mad at me today, and it has zero effect on me. I mean, I'll look at my part, I'll look at my behavior, and if I owe an amends or corrective behavior, I will do that. But I don't go into a full state of panic like I did. And it's because I've done the work. I've worked with others. I've read that red book, which, by the way, if you want one, email Soraya and she will send you a red book.
Which, in case you guys forgot, is the laundrylistpodcast@gmail.com.
So you'll get a free red book. Just email Soraya. But in that red book, it is very clear that we cannot live in a state of codependency and a state of panic and be in love and be intimate and have a healthy relationship. It's not possible. The definition of codependency is two people. And you've probably seen the diagram where two people have the egg hooked in, and there's a little bit of commonality in the hook, and then there's a lot of separateness. Where a healthy relationship is two eggs that don't touch each other. They're two independent people that don't touch each other, but share common interest and love, and let the other people, go and do what they want to do. And it's funny, like, I was talking to this guy today. I'm like, if you truly love this woman that you might break up with, why not let her go do what she's going to do, set her free, and love her just the same? Why do we only love people and care about people when they're attached to us in a relationship? Why can't I love someone and set them free and love them just as much? It's because of that attachment. It's like, well, if they're not going to be with me, then fuck them.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, I love my ex-wife, Julie, more today than I did when I was married to her. I really do. I care about her more today than I did, because when I was with her, it was self-serving. I was trying to get something out of that relationship, which was, don't abandon me. Don't have conflict with me. Make me feel good. Give me validation. Give me approval. Give me purpose. Give me self-worth. Give me self-esteem. I mean, that's a lot of responsibility to put on your partner. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of responsibility. And that's not fair. That's the work that we need to do ourselves. Looking to our partner to make us feel better about ourselves. I mean, Mm-hmm. It's like, that's a lot of pressure and very selfish, almost narcissistic. It's like, if my wife is struggling, the best thing I can do is say, why don't you call so-and-so, or why don't you call the therapist, or why don't you go meditate for a couple days, instead of trying to make her feel better myself.
Or give her the answers.
Yeah.
Go talk. I love that. Go talk to so-and-so as opposed to, here's what you've got to do.
Right.
That's also a sign of a healthy individual.
Yeah. Or, oh no, honey, you should feel great. You're beautiful. No, you're not. You're absolutely stunning, or, you're smart, or whatever it is. No. If she's in pain and she is in low self-esteem, low self-worth, that's the work she needs to do herself to put herself back together. Mm-hmm. I could be there for her and hold her and love her, cuddle with her, be a sounding board and listen. But it's her job to make herself feel better and get her out of her emotional pain. Mm-hmm. And what have you learned from your relationships about when you're in the heat of the moment, nothing good happens?
Yeah, I didn't follow that. I'm so sorry.
It's
the tea.
So in the heat of the moment, like when you're arguing, how nothing good comes out of that. No closeness, no intimacy, no, healthy relationship is going to be built off of being heated in the moment.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I've always had an issue with controlling the things I say. Sometimes I can say things that I don't mean just because I'm overwhelmed and in the moment. And at that point, I'm acting on emotion rather than logic. And so over time, I mean, in my last relationship, when I would have conflict, I'd want to wait it out. I'd want to take time to myself. And if I need to, text. Text is a big thing for me because I need to make sure that what I'm saying comes out correctly and not like through logic and not through emotion. And unfortunately, my ex didn't feel that way. And
He wanted to talk.
He wanted to talk right now, and he wanted to resolve it right then. But it doesn't always work that way. I need a minute to think about what I want to say to you.
Right.
And yeah, nothing good ever came from
So
that.
how'd you deal with that? He wanted to talk. You wanted a moment and then text. What ended up happening?
Well, ultimately, I ended up single.
Yeah.
That was the last issue that we had, was because I explained to him, I'm like, listen, I am going to say things that you're not going to like. And so I'm only willing to talk about this through text because I feel incredibly disrespected right now. I'm not okay. And I need a minute, and I need to text this to you. Otherwise, you're going to interrupt me. Things are going to get heated, and it's going to be a problem. And he crossed that boundary. So he ended up calling me 3, 4, 5 times, and I ended the relationship because I was done letting him overstep my boundaries. Because for so many years, I'd let him overstep those boundaries that I had set for myself, and I wasn't standing up for myself enough to reset those boundaries, be firm on those. And in that moment, I had decided that I couldn't do it anymore and ended the relationship. And ultimately, I'm happier, but I don't know.
So you're learning how to communicate in a healthier way.
Yes.
So when you're going forward and dating in the future, you have better skills and a better ability to communicate when there's conflict, because there's always going to be conflict.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like in the heat of the moment, you don't really take a look at yourself and where you went wrong in that situation, because perspective is reality. In the other person's eyes, you've done something to upset them. And when you're in the heat of the moment like that, you're not thinking about that. It's how they've wronged you. And then it's you against each other rather than both of you against the conflict.
Yeah, there should almost be like a federal law that if you're like texting or calling like 30 times in like an hour,
You go to jail.
you literally should not be allowed to talk to the other person. Like,
Right.
Illegal. No. Is there a button that does that?
Text restraining.
Like you cannot talk to the other person. If you're calling 30 times in an hour, done. You are not allowed to talk to the person.
Right, just block out your
because literally nothing good's going to happen.
I agree.
Nothing good's going to happen. And we hear these stories all the time. 50 times, 100 times in an hour, texting, calling. It's like they just don't want to feel the feelings of abandonment. It's that simple, right?
Textbook.
Yeah. And it's like no. Call, and I tell my sponsees all the time in these programs, like, call me. When you want to call her, call me. Don't call her, call me. I'll talk to you as much as you want. You can call me 50 times. But you got to take the emotion, the attachment out of it,
And how hard is that? It's fucking impossible. Like, hey, don't go drive by her house.
Right.
Don't text her. Right. It's wild. Todd, I'll give you some heat of the moment examples, because you mentioned something that hit me, that brought back some memories. You said that angry phone call. I left my 20-year high school reunion early because I got that angry phone call, right? I've left softball tournaments in other cities early because I got that phone call. I've canceled business trips because I'm walking out the door and got that phone call.
I remember.
Right? So I don't know how many times I have sacrificed what it was that I was doing or wanted to do, always when I'm out of town, and I get that phone call. Golf trip. There was 2 consecutive years, this golf trip that I'd go to every year, where I'd get the phone call, and they just were not happy that I was there, even though I'd already left and was already out the door. And I would jump in the car and leave behind what it is that I was wanting to do. So I remember those phone calls. And then I would be so mad at them while I'm driving back or flying back or leaving my high school reunion early or leaving my golf trip early or leaving my softball tournament. I remember being so pissed off at them. But who really should I have been mad at?
You're the one who made the decision.
The child that was so scared of fucking abandonment.
Yep.
That I'm going to leave what it is that I wanted to do because I felt that they were going to leave me.
Yep.
Right. So I finally have realized that if I'm uncomfortable, then there's only one person at fault. Right. And if I'm dissatisfied, there's only one person at fault, because I cannot control anyone else but me. And one of the things that we cement here in this show for that guaranteed happiness is I can change my present. I can change the situation. I don't need to leave what I'm doing. In fact, by executing those types of things that make me feel good and being truthful and not people pleasing and not being afraid of abandonment, people actually come to like me more for it and give me more respect and treat me differently. And it's completely backwards than how I was living when I was utilizing these traits ingrained in me to handle situations.
I think when you make each other feel safe in a relationship and you're not coming at it from codependency or the laundry list traits, you don't get into that mode of panic of like calling someone 50 times for validation approval. Like I can't remember one time Alex and I've had that situation where we were like in the heat of the moment. I've let her walk out mad and she's let me walk out mad, and we just, let each other do it. But we make each other feel safe 99.9% of the time, and it's not like we're making the other person feel safe. We feel safe with each other. So I think when you feel safe with yourself and are comfortable with who you are, you don't even care, or I shouldn't say you don't care. It's not life-threatening where this relationship goes. It may work, it may not work. Most don't work long-term, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Always wish that other person well. And if you truly love them, you'll always want them to do well and be happy, no matter if they're with you or not.
100%.
Yeah. And that takes all the pressure off,
Conflict is a part of every partnership, right? There's always conflict. In fact, isn't that what I look back at the adversities in my life and they wound up becoming assets, right? Not only in helping other men or helping other people, having survived the experience, but that should be the same in partnerships. But if I am terrified of abandonment, or afraid of angry people that are upset, how am I ever going to let that conflict eventually become an asset? I can't, right? I treat it as abandonment. I treat it as fear. And then I'm also addicted to that. So I create it as well. And then I just, I want to leave but can't, and then don't want them to leave. And when they ultimately do, we're in a tragic spot where the 50 texts an hour seems like the only solution to claw back. Right.
It's like screaming to get your way. Like I always notice when people are like in a meeting or a room and they're yelling and talking really loud, they're not like smarter or brighter than anyone else. They're just more scared than everybody else. That's what that is. Mm-hmm. That's manipulation. Rage and anger is manipulation at its finest from fear.
Hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hear me because I'm scared. So I'm going to talk louder. Yeah. And we all know guys that do that, and it's like, I feel sorry for them. Like my heart goes out to them. It really does, because they're in pain. They're really in pain. They're in a lot of pain.
All the bullies are the ones that are hurting.
Totally.
The ones that want to hurt are hurting.
But when you're young or you don't have the experience, you don't know that. Like that's information I didn't really understand or know until the last 4 or 5 years, and now it's clear as day. When I see someone that's just yelling or screaming or bullying, I'm just like, wow, I really feel for that person, All right, we're coming up on the top of the hour. If you want to come on the podcast, please email Soraya. Please review us. Please give us 5 stars. We are officially coming on YouTube this coming week. I think in the next couple days, probably.
This shit's recorded?
Yep. The Laundry List Podcast. So if you put in the Laundry List Podcast on YouTube, you can see our smiling faces, me, Soraya, Blake, and Charles, even though Blake's not here today. And if you want to come in the studio with us, or we can Zoom you in if you aren't here in Phoenix. But we'd love to have you on. We have many thousands of listeners now, and we are helping people get out of that fear, that codependency, that scared little boy or girl, and finding that true self, the adult person that's inside of all of us, that's full of love, full of compassion, and full of strength. We love you. Please be nice to my friend this week, and we will see you next week on The Laundry List.